Hello, a Rosie math teacher coming at you from my third period accelerated grade 7 math class, where today we are working on lesson 12-2, scatter plots and line graphs on textbook page 323. As you do this online, they will be asking you different questions about these graphs. I just want to help you understand it to begin with, and then you're going to be set free to work on it online. We will compare and contrast the scatter plot and line graph shown. Now, as you look at these two, I do want to point something out. One of them deals with elements of time, one of them does not. Now, the first one is called a line graph. It showcases that a certain number of inches of snow exist on each day that they are writing the data. Days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The snow shovels sold, represented by a scatter plot, relate the information of number of snow shovels sold to the number of inches in snowfall they had in that particular area. Only one of them has an element involving time. On the count of 3, I want you to say to me, which type of graph, line graph or scatter plot, is known for dealing with time? 1, 2, 3. Line graph is known for frequently dealing with time. Now, does that mean a scatter plot can't deal with time? No, but it doesn't need to have a time element. So when you see a scatter plot, sometimes you can know that even if you didn't see a scatter plot, that you would use a scatter plot when you are trying to compare two different but related pieces of information that do not include time. You would therefore choose a scatter plot. You will need to know that for one of your questions, so that's why I wanted to clarify that ahead of time. Now, as you look at the height of the inches of snow over time, is there an association, positive, negative, or no association on the line graph? What do you say? Do you see a negative association, a positive association, or no association? What do you think? Negative, because overall it is going what? Down. Now, just using your brain power, what do you think must be happening if the inches of snow are going down over a period of 5 days? The snow must be what-ing?
Melting.
Excellent. That's the type of thing they're expecting you to notice from that graph. Then when you look at the number of snow shovels sold, do you also see an association, whether positive, no association, or negative? Which one would you say here? A positive association. Why? Because as the snowfall in inches is increasing, the what? Number of snow shovels sold is also increasing. You may be familiar with this just because of in science class when you're talking about forces. When you have a force that is pulling you to the right, and you also have an equal or similar force pulling you upward, would you agree you would therefore expect a trend that is somewhere diagonally in between the two? Yes. So I want you to realize that whenever your x is increasing and your y value is increasing, this is why you would see an upward diagonal trend, meaning that overall there is a positive association with your data. Now, if I put it into a sentence in the English language, I might say something like this. The more snow that falls, the what shovels I expect they will sell?
More.
The more shovels I expect they will sell. Are you understanding the type of things they expect you to see? Okay, let's go on to item number 2. This time, you are told to construct an appropriate display of the data and to draw a conclusion about the type of relationship shown. Marcus started a lawn care service. The table shows how much money he made over summer break. What would you call the values in the bar about week, X or Y? X. Remember, X always comes first. What variable will I place in front of profit?
Y.
Y. Remember, the Y always comes next or last. During week 1, what does he expect his profit to, what was his profit during week 1? $25. So the very first ordered pair that I would do on the grid would be located at what? Say it please. 1, comma 25. Now wait. Let's look at how we think we ought to arrange or how we should count by for the x values on the x-axis. Notice there are approximately, well, there are exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. And how many weeks are we talking about?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. So we recommend you count by what? 1. Okay, you may go ahead and start counting by ones along your x-axis. While you're doing that, I'm also going to talk about your y values. They start as low as what? As low as 25, and at their highest, they reach what? 95. Now on the x-axis, it was easy to tell that we're just going to do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, count by ones. But for the profit, there's no way we would count by ones. We would need 95 levels high, wouldn't we? So instead, how about we agree to count by something a little bit more friendly, and let's also agree we're going to use the skip-a-lot technique, right?
Yes.
So at the point of 0, 0, point of origin, please go ahead and give yourself the little skip-a-lot symbol. And then I would recommend that since we have 8 levels high, so first of all, if we have 8 levels high, and we only need to accommodate from a low of 25 and a high of 95, what do you propose we count by? 5s or 10s? I'll give you a choice.
10s.
Let's try 10s. What do you think we should start with?
25.
I agree. Let's start with 25 and count by 10s to end in 5. 25, what would be next?
35.
35, and so on, until at the very top, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. Look, that fit perfectly on the grid that you were given, didn't it? Okay? So in a moment, you're going to come back to this, and you're going to plot things. Let's go ahead and at least plot the 1, 25. Plot 1, 25. Is your plotted point right where mine is located? Yes. And what would automatically be the label for the x-axis? The number of what? Weeks. And what would automatically be the label for the y-axis? The profit in dollars. Are we all understanding how to create a graph that matches the information we were given? Okay? So in a moment, when I set you free, you will go ahead and continue labeling every plotted point, and you will determine if it would be better as a line graph or better as a scatter plot. Now, does it have a possibility of making a good line graph since it deals in a unit of time? Yes, it has a good possibility of being a line graph. All right, let's go to number 3. The MPG miles per gallon ratings for a certain car company are shown in the table. Now this time, for number 3, do you notice that our X value label would be what? Engine size, while our Y value would be what?
Miles per gallon.
Miles per gallon. Is either of these a unit of time? No. So write down either line graph or scatter plot as a reminder to yourself what you think would best match this data. I am hoping that you wrote what I am writing. Wave at me if you truly did write scatter plot. Excellent. And why is scatter plot the better option here? Because there are no units of time. We are just talking about how engine size relates to miles per gallon. Now I want to point something out. On your X values, do you think it would be a great idea to count by ones, yes or no?
No.
Excellent answers, guys. No. Why? Because the lowest value is 1.8, while the highest value is 3.4, and that's not even 2 whole numbers apart, is it? Okay? So when you handle this later, I will let you decide, but I'm glad you already realize it's going to be increments that are fraction sized, not whole number sized. When we get to miles per gallon, what is your least number of miles per gallon?
20.
I see a 19, and I see a highest number of miles per gallon is 29. Okay? So 29 miles per gallon is highest, 19 is lowest. That's a span of how many spaces? 10. So it would be up to you. If you choose to do zero skip a lot, you could do counting by ones, or you could do counting by twos. I'll leave that up to you. All right, let's go on to item number 4. The number of high school graduates in a certain state over an 8-year period are shown in the table. Now this time we do have an element of what with year? An element of time. All right, that's your X value, and then your Y value is number of graduates in the what? Thousands. So if they ask a question for a specific number, don't forget to put comma 000. All right, so during years 1 through 8, what do you think you would use for your numbering along the x-axis, counting by ones or twos? Ones would make sense. When you do your y-axis data, what is your lowest number?
163.
163. What is your highest number?
250.
215, giving me a span from somewhere around 160 all the way up to somewhere almost to 220, which is a span of, just do the average. So 160 to 220, 160 to 200 would be 40, and then 20 more, so a span of 60. So you could choose to count by what?
20s. No.
I think you should at least count by tens. If you wanted to enlarge your grid, you could count by fives. But would you need to do the zero skip a lot technique? Yes, most definitely. And then maybe start with 160 and work your way up to 220. All right, do I have any questions so far? All right, and they're gonna ask you, once you look at that grid, they're gonna ask you to compare. Yesterday we learned about how angles going generally this way, up, we would say a what association? Positive. Angles that are going down, we would say is a negative association. Now here's the item that a lot of children are struggling with today. Item number 5, and I will tell you this, for item number 5, they do not show you a graph at all. They just give you the table. And for item number 5 specifically, I do want you to certainly show your work on the grid over here by creating a label and counting by appropriate numbers for both the x-axis and the y-axis, and then filling in all of your plotted points from the table, so that you can make a prediction about the one they ask you. First, let's talk about this. When you are looking at sandwiches A, B, C, D, E, F, G, first of all, is there any number value to the sandwich labels? No. Do you need to include the sandwich labels on your grid?
No.
No, you do not. So to help your brain remember you do not need to include the labels, go ahead and cross those out so that you don't even try to include that on your grid. All that means is, for sandwich A, you need a plotted point with the data that would go with sandwich A, right? Okay, you need a plotted point that would go with the data for sandwich B, and so on. The thing you're concerned about relating is the number of grams of fat in a sandwich to the number of calories in the same sandwich. So therefore, the fat grams becomes your what value? X value, and the calories becomes your what value? Your Y value. So the first point you will plot would be at what? 21, 540. Excellent, thank you. All right, now look for the lowest number of fat grams. What is the lowest number of fat grams in all of these sandwiches?
210.
The lowest number of fat grams. It is 10. Okay, what is the highest number of fat grams? 37. So guys, that goes approximately from 10 to 40, correct? Approximately. That's a span of 30. Would I want to count by tens and only have 3 sections? No. So what do you recommend? We maybe count by?
5.
I think 5s is quite reasonable. I'll leave that up to you. That would be along your what axis?
Y.
Okay, the fat grams were the x-axis. Great, okay. And then let's talk about what would make sense for the calories along the y-axis. First of all, what is the lowest number of calories? 280. Do we agree that's somewhere near 300? Right now, we're just trying to find a reasonable number of spaces to split it up into. What is the highest number?
590.
It's 590, so reasonably close to 600. So what is our approximate range?
300.
300. So would you want to count by hundreds?
No.
No, because you'd only have 3 spaces. What could be reasonable to count by?
50s.
Absolutely. I'll leave that up to you. Again, should you definitely do 0, skip a lot?
Yes.
And make sure you either start, well, for example, I would start at, if you're doing by 50s, I would start at 250 so that you have room to include your 280. And then I would make sure you get to at least 600, right? Okay, so in a moment when you solve those, will you remember you're plotting everything on this grid? Now let me ask you this. Yes or no, do you see an element of time included in these? No. Therefore, which type of graph matches your needs? Scatter plot. When you see no element of time, you're going to say, I for sure need to use a scatter plot. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you this final answer. Item number 7 is sometimes. It is sometimes true that a scatter plot that shows a positive association suggests that the relationship is a function. I'm giving you that answer for free because I want you to focus your brain power on all the other answers. You may begin now, and I hope this video was very helpful. Bye.